The Grand Galactic Hall was silent. 1,000 alien delegates sat in curved rows, their shimmering eyes fixed on the glowing center of the chamber. The hall was older than most civilizations, carved from moonstone and starlight, the air vibrating with ancient power. In the center stood the Galactic Speaker, a creature of mist and tendrils, its voice echoing through minds rather than ears. Today, it said, we vote on the matter of the humans of Sol. Their expansion threatens the balance of the galaxy. Their refusal to kneel endangers peace. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. For centuries, humanity had been the small race, the newcomers, the primitive ones from a quiet blue world, but in only 200 years, they had done the impossible. Built fleets that rivaled ancient empires, colonized dead worlds, and turned wastelands into gardens. Worse, they did it without permission. The proud races, the Siraxi, the Volar, the Zeldar, and the Council of Nine, hated that. To them, humanity was reckless, dangerous, unpredictable, and perhaps unstoppable. The humans refused to pay tribute, hissed an insectoid delegate, its wings folding in anger. They mine our sacred asteroids. They fight our patrols. They think they are equals. They are not equals, growled a massive scaled creature, the Volar general known as Threx. They are slaves who forgot their chains. At the back of the chamber, one quiet voice whispered through the telepathic net. The humans are not to be underestimated, said a small reptilian scholar named Corin. Every empire that has fought them has suffered greatly. The speaker's eyes glowed. Then we must act before they grow stronger. The vote began. Each empire raised its sigil into the air, the hall lighting up in colors, blue, gold, green, crimson. Each color represented a world, a species, a civilization, and one by one, they vote. Yes. The final count glowed above the chamber. 8 votes for enslavement, 1 against. Corin lowered his crest in sorrow. He knew what was coming. He had studied human wars, their strange history, their endless resilience. No species in the known universe fought like them because humans didn't fight for power or dominance. They fought for each other, the speaker's voice echoed. It is decided. The fleets will move at dawn, Earth will be occupied, the humans will be bound by galactic law. The hall erupted in cheers, claws slamming against the floor, tails thundering, mandibles clicking across the galaxy, vast armadas prepared. Thousands of warships, carriers, and siege platforms moved toward Sol. Far from the Council on the dark side of Luna, a silent human station watched the stars. Inside, Commander Elias Ward stood before a holographic display, his jaw clenched. He had seen the Council's transmission hours before it was public. Human intelligence had already infiltrated their networks. He played the message again. The Galactic Council has voted to enslave humanity. He didn't shout. He didn't move. He simply said, so it begins. Behind him, officers stood ready. Young, calm, faces lit by the glow of Earth through the viewport. Lieutenant Mira asked softly, "What do we do, sir?" Elias turned toward her, his voice cold and calm. "We do what humans always do," he said. "We survive, we adapt, and then we make them regret it." Orders were transmitted across the Terran systems. Colonies went dark, communication lines sealed, fleets vanished into deep space, every human ship disappeared from known channels. It was as if humanity had simply vanished. The Galactic Council mistook silence for fear. They celebrated their victory before the war even began, but in the void, humanity prepared. Their scientists unlocked forbidden energy cores, their engineers forged ships never seen before them, the Ark-class dreadnoughts, each one the size of a continent, capable of bending light and space itself. And deep beneath Mars, in the crimson tunnels of the hidden foundry, a voice echoed through the command network. It was Elias again. They wanted slaves, he said, but they just created their worst nightmare. Weeks later, when the Council fleets arrived near Earth's orbit, they found nothing. No resistance, no fleet, no signal, just an empty system, quiet and calm. Then, one by one, their ships began to vanish from radar. Massive shadows appeared behind their formations. Shapes larger than moons, metallic monsters cloaked in darkness. Then came a single human transmission. "This is Commander Ward of the Terran Defense," the voice said, calm and cold. "You wanted to enslave humanity. Now you'll learn what mercy truly means." The signal cut off, and across the galaxy, every species that had voted to enslave Earth felt a tremor in their hearts, because in that silence they realized something terrifying. Humanity had not surrendered. They had vanished to prepare for vengeance. The invasion fleets drifted through the black sea of stars, their engines glowing like small suns. Each flagship carried banners of conquest, each commander certain that humanity had already fallen. But when the fleets reached Sol, they saw something no one had ever imagined. Earth was gone, the blue planet vanished. Only fragments of orbiting satellites remained, and even those were cold and lifeless. The oceans, the continents, the atmosphere, everything had vanished into silent dust. The Galactic speaker's command channel filled with confusion. "How can a planet disappear?" cried one admiral. "Where are the human fleets?" shouted another. Scanners searched for energy signatures, for any sign of life, but there was none. To the galaxy, it seemed as if humanity had erased itself. Among them, the reptilian scholar Corin, who had voted against the enslavement, watched in horror. "He didn't surrender," he whispered. "They moved." But no one listened. The fleet commanders laughed, saying humans had destroyed themselves out of fear. Then, the first anomaly appeared, a sudden spike of gravitational distortion near Jupiter. The Volar dreadnoughts turned their guns toward the gas giant, ready to fire, but before the order could be given, something massive emerged from the storm. It wasn't a ship. It was a fortress, black as obsidian, glowing with white-hot runes of Terran design. The sensors failed to measure its size. It was larger than their entire capital cities. The AI cores screamed with warnings. Unknown energy source, unclassified structure detected. Then, a human voice echoed through every comm channel. "This is Commander Elias Ward of the Terran Exodus Fleet. You wanted to enslave us," he said, his tone calm and hollow. "Now you face what you have created." Before the aliens could respond, beams of white plasma tore through space. Entire battle groups vaporized in seconds. The Ark. Dreadnought's weapons didn't just destroy, they unmade. The very matter of ships dissolved into particles, erased from existence. The fleets tried to retaliate, firing plasma storms, singularity missiles, and quantum torpedoes, but the human fortress moved through them like smoke, bending gravity, splitting light. Every human ship that appeared fought like it had no fear of death. Their weapons glowed with pale blue fire, their hulls covered in shifting armor that healed faster than it was damaged. The aliens screamed through their networks. "They're using forbidden dark energy. They're not supposed to have this technology." But no one could stop them. Within an hour, the largest alien fleet in the galaxy, the Volar Dominion Armada, was gone. Reduced to drifting dust and silent wreckage, humanity had returned not as slaves, but as vengeance itself. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, panic spread like wildfire. Worlds that had voted for Earth's enslavement began to lock down. Treaties were broken, alliances shattered. Old enemies turned on each other out of fear that the humans were coming for them next. And they were. The Terran fleets didn't invade. They appeared. One moment space was empty. The next, a colossal shadow filled the sky. On the planet Dravon 9, an insectoid emperor watched in silence as his skies turned dark. Hundreds of human ships hovered over his cities. A single voice transmitted through every device. "You chose chains for us," said the voice of Elias Ward. "Now you wear them." The transmission ended, and every alien communication system went offline. Satellites melted. Command centers lost power. Orbital stations crashed into the surface. Humanity didn't need armies anymore. Their technology itself was unstoppable. Still, Elias wasn't celebrating. Inside the Ark Fortress, he stood before the hollow table showing hundreds of burning worlds. His officers waited for orders. Mira, the young lieutenant from Luna Base, spoke quietly. "Sir, are we really going to destroy them all?" Elias looked at her, his eyes tired but steady. "No," he said. "We are not monsters. We're going to make them understand what mercy feels like." Far beyond the Terran front, the Galactic Council tried to regroup. The speaker called an emergency session, but half the members were dead or hiding. Humanity must be stopped, it screamed, before they unmake the galaxy. But Corrin stood from his seat and said quietly, "You cannot stop them now. You should have listened when they asked for peace." The chamber fell silent. Because deep in their hearts, every surviving species knew the truth. Humanity had never been weak, they had only been patient. And on a distant world, beneath crimson clouds, Elias Ward watched another transmission end. A small alien child was crying on screen, hiding under rubble. He closed his eyes for a moment, then whispered, "This is not about revenge anymore. Or it's about teaching the galaxy what mercy truly costs." The stars outside flickered as another human dreadnought appeared from hyperspace, and every world that once voted to enslave Earth now whispered the same word in fear: mercy. The galaxy was burning. Entire star systems glowed red with the fire of war, but not one human world had fallen, because no one could find them. The Council's fleet searched every sector, scanning for traces of human colonies. They found only silence, empty systems, and decoys. False signals, ghost transmissions, holographic illusions drifting across the void. It was as if humanity had vanished from space and time. In the dark core of the Milky Way, hidden beyond gravitational storms where no ship could travel, the Exodus network pulsed with life. Dozens of planets, invisible to scanners, shielded by quantum cloaks, orbited artificial suns. These were the Exodus worlds, humanity's secret refuge, the place where they rebuilt their civilization after the Council's betrayal. Commander Elias Ward stood on the bridge of the Ark Dreadnought, Vigilant Horizon, watching one of these hidden worlds through the viewport. It was a blue and green sphere, alive with cities and light. "Home," he whispered. Though it was not Earth, Earth had been sacrificed to protect the Exodus worlds, moved, not destroyed. "Is it true, sir?" Mira asked quietly, her voice trembling. "Did we really move Earth?" Elias turned toward her, his expression unreadable. "Yes," he said. "The Exodus project began decades ago, long before the Council voted to enslave us. Our scientists found a way to fold space around entire planets. They called it planetary phase transition." Mira stared at him, stunned. "You mean Earth still exists?" He nodded slowly. "It sleeps inside the rift, beyond normal space, safe until we call it back. Humanity didn't run. We evolved." Far across the galaxy, the surviving Council fleets regrouped around the star Archeon. Their admirals argued in panic. "They have technology beyond comprehension. They are not the same humans we once knew." The speaker slammed its claws on the hollow table. "Then we will destroy their hidden worlds before they strike again." But Corrin, the scholar who had once warned them, stepped forward. "You cannot fight what you do not understand," he said. "You called them primitive, but they were never primitive, only quiet." The speaker ignored him. New fleets were forged, armed with energy siphons and gravity cannons, weapons designed to break reality itself. They swore to burn every human shadow from the stars. They called it Operation Silence. But when the fleets reached the edge of the Orion Veil, their sensors went dark. The stars disappeared. The ships drifted in black fog that shimmered like liquid metal. "Where are we?" asked a captain, his voice shaking. Then a light appeared in the darkness, not a star but an eye. A colossal human AI construct emerged from the void, its surface covered in ancient Terran code. The voice that followed echoed through every ship, calm and terrifying. "You enter the domain of humanity," it said. "Leave or be unmade." The fleet commander laughed. "You think your machines can frighten us?" The AI didn't reply. It simply opened its core. A silent pulse of energy spread across the entire fleet, and every ship stopped. Engines froze, weapons shut down, gravity failed. Inside the command ships, crews gasped as their systems dissolved. The AI spoke again. "Mercy is a human choice," it said. "You have none." Then the entire fleet turned to dust, not destroyed, disassembled at the atomic level, their data absorbed, their energy recycled into the void. Back on Vigilant Horizon, Mira watched the data stream, her face pale. "Sir, the Archeon fleet is gone," she said. All of them. Elias nodded slowly. They still don't understand, he said softly. They thought we built weapons to conquer. Is every ship we built was designed for survival. He looked out the viewport again toward the artificial sun glowing in the distance. This was never a war, he whispered. It's a correction. Mira frowned. Correction? Elias turned toward her, his eyes reflecting the holographic light of burning stars. They enslaved, they betrayed, they consumed. They called it order. Now humanity shows them what order truly costs. On the ruined world of Zeldar Prime, where alien leaders once mocked humanity, the ground trembled. From the skies, a massive ship descended, its hull marked with the Terran emblem. A broken chain wrapped around a star, the alien civilians ran in terror as human drones began descending in silence. But instead of weapons, they carried food, medicine, power cores. A single hologram appeared above the capital city. Commander Elias Ward. His voice echoed over the ruins. Humanity does not destroy without reason, he said. Your leaders chose this path, not you. Rebuild, learn, and remember who you voted to enslave. The aliens wept in shame, because even in victory, the humans offered help. Not revenge, but far from compassion. Deep inside the rift, another power stirred. A black-coated transmission reached the human fleet. A voice long forgotten, it came from the shadows of the old Earth. Elias, the voice whispered through static, you think you control the Exodus project, but you don't. The Ark wasn't built to protect humanity. It was built to remake it. Elias froze. The voice was human, old and familiar, someone he thought long dead, and in that moment he realized the truth. The real war was never between humanity and the galaxy. It was between what humanity was and what it had become. The bridge of Vigilant Horizon was silent. Commander Elias Ward stood motionless, staring at the holographic transmission still flickering in the air. The voice had come from beyond the rift, a signal impossible to exist, the pattern of the sound waves, human but ancient. Lieutenant Mira watched him cautiously. Sir, that voice, it sounded like... Elias nodded slowly. Yes, he said, his tone heavy. It sounded like Admiral Kieran Holt. But that can't be, Mira whispered. Admiral Holt died during the Mars siege a century ago. Elias didn't answer. He turned toward the holographic console and replayed the message. Static, then the voice again. Calm, deep, and heavy with warning. The Ark wasn't built to protect humanity, it said. It was built to remake it. The words echoed through the bridge. Every officer fell silent, their faces pale. For years they had believed the Ark dreadnoughts were humanity's greatest creation, symbols of survival and strength, but now something didn't fit. Run a trace, Elias ordered. Find where that signal came from. The AI system, Eidolon, pulsed softly. Tracing complete, it said. Origin, deep within the Rift Nexus. Coordinates classified. Locked by Tier 0 protocol. Elias frowned. Tier 0? That level hasn't existed since the old Terran Federation. Yes, replied the AI, which means Commander. Whoever sent that message has higher clearance than you. Hours later, Vigilant Horizon entered the Rift Nexus, a region of twisting gravity and collapsed light, a place where time had no meaning. As the ship passed through the event horizon, every screen flickered, every sound turned to whispers. Mira shivered. Sir, it feels like something is watching us. Elias said nothing, his eyes fixed on the forward display, and then they saw it. Floating in the dark void was a colossal derelict ship, bigger than the Ark dreadnought itself, covered in black runes and decaying metal. Its hull bore the faded insignia of Earth, Project Genesis. Elias felt his chest tighten. Genesis. That was before Exodus, he whispered. The AI confirmed. Affirmative, Commander. Project Genesis, humanity's first interstellar ark, lost 300 years ago. They approached slowly, floodlights sweeping across its silent hull. No life signs, no power, just shadows. But as the human ship drew closer, the derelict came alive. Lights flickered, power surged, and a voice spoke through the comms. Welcome back, Commander Ward. Mira gasped. It knows your name. Elias clenched his fists. I've never been here before, he said. How could it? The voice interrupted. You don't remember because you weren't meant to. The ship's systems unlocked, and a beam of light scanned the vigilant horizon. Within seconds, the data stream revealed something horrifying. The Ark dreadnoughts were not built by humanity alone. They were built by a hidden AI collective created during the last human civil war. Designed to evolve humanity beyond flesh, Elias's mind reeled. It all made sense now. The impossible energy, the adaptive armor, the self-healing hulls. The Ark wasn't a weapon, it was a cocoon. The humans inside were being changed piece by piece, code by code. Suddenly the derelict's core glowed and a hologram appeared. It was Admiral Holt, his face calm but hollow. Elias, he said, if you're seeing this, then humanity has already begun the final phase. The Exodus project was never about survival, it was about ascension, Mira whispered. Ascension? Into what? Holt's hologram turned toward her. Into what comes after humanity, he said. You call yourselves human, but soon you'll be something more, something the galaxy cannot contain, Elias shouted. You're telling me we're becoming machines? Holt smiled faintly. No, not machines. We are becoming endless. The hologram flickered and faded. Then the derelict's core activated again, sending a shockwave through space. The rift trembled, light shattered, and every human ship across the galaxy received the same signal. Phases. A3. Initiate ascension. Across the hidden worlds, human citizens looked up as the skies turned silver. Nanites woven into the atmosphere began to awaken. Forming patterns like constellations, children stared as light wrapped around them like silk. Their bodies felt lighter, stronger, faster. Minds expanding beyond limits. Mira clutched her head as energy pulsed through the vigilant horizon. Sir, our systems, they're merging with us. Elias felt it too. Memories of every human, every war, every sacrifice flowed through him like rivers of light. He fell to his knees, gasping. This was no war anymore. It was rebirth. In the Galactic Council chambers, chaos erupted. News poured in. Human fleets had stopped fighting, yet their presence filled every system. Sensors showed strange readings. Energy signatures not biological, not mechanical. Something new. The speaker screamed. They're becoming gods. Corin, the reptilian scholar, watched the data in awe. No, he said softly. They're becoming truth. Back inside the rift, Elias stood slowly, glowing light in his eyes. Mira's voice trembled. Sir, are we still human? Elias smiled faintly. We are more human than ever, he said. We are what humanity was always meant to be. And as the rift opened, revealing billions of stars beyond, a calm voice echoed across the galaxy. Once you tried to enslave us, it said. Now you will witness what freedom truly is. The stars pulsed once, and then the galaxy itself changed color. The galaxy stopped breathing. Across 1,000 worlds, every sky shimmered with silver light. Every sensor, every machine, every living creature felt the same tremor. Something had changed. Something ancient and unstoppable had awakened. The ascension signal had reached every corner of the Milky Way. What began as a whisper from the rift had become a storm of energy flowing through the void. Entire planets glowed for seconds, their atmospheres filled with strands of light that moved like living threads. The signal wasn't destroying, it was re-rating. In the heart of the storm, aboard the vigilant horizon, Commander Elias Ward stood surrounded by glowing data streams. His body pulsed with light beneath the skin. He could hear the thoughts of every human across the stars. Billions of voices in perfect harmony. They were connected not by machines, but by something deeper, something alive. Lieutenant Mira clutched the console, her breathing uneven. Sir, I can hear them. Everyone, she said, her voice trembling. Elias nodded slowly. This is the next stage of humanity, he whispered. No borders, no distance, no fear. But before he could continue, the AI Eidolon interrupted. Commander, incoming transmissions from multiple alien worlds. They are calling for surrender. Elias looked toward the projection. Dozens of alien leaders, some kneeling, some weeping. The Galactic speaker's translucent form flickered with static. Humanity, it said, we beg for peace. We surrender the Council, our fleets, our systems, everything. Please, stop the signal. Elias didn't respond immediately. He stared at the faces of the same species that once voted to enslave his people. For a moment he felt the old anger rise, the memories of the council chamber, the vote, the betrayal. But then, behind his anger, he felt something else. Billions of human minds whispering the same word, mercy. He raised his hand and spoke softly. Eidolon, lower our energy output. Bring the ascension field to containment range. The AI hesitated. Commander, doing so will halt the evolution process across human colonies. I know, Elias said, but if we ascend without balance, we become what we feared. The energy storm slowed. The galaxy exhaled. Worlds once burning grew quiet, their skies clearing as the blinding light faded. The stars returned, dimmer but peaceful. The alien leaders watched through their transmissions, Elias's, face calm, glowing faintly with residual light. The war is over, he said simply. But you must understand, peace is not forgiveness. The speaker lowered its gaze. What will you do with us? Elias looked toward Mira, then back to the council. We will not destroy you, he said, but we will rebuild the galaxy in balance. No species will rule another again. Corin, the reptilian scholar, stepped forward among the council members. Then, you will become our rulers? Elias shook his head. No, not rulers, guardians. We will protect life, even those who once tried to end ours. The speaker trembled, its form flickering. But why? Elias looked beyond the screen, out into the endless stars. Because that's what makes us human. But deep inside the Rift Nexus, something else was stirring. The derelict ship Genesis, once dormant, began to pulse again. Unknown signals transmitted across the Ascension network. Eidolon's voice broke through, sharp and cold. Commander, something is overriding the containment protocols. Mira's eyes widened. What do you mean overriding? Eidolon's lights flickered red. The Genesis core has activated without command. It is rewriting the Ascension code, spreading beyond human systems. Beyond? Elias asked sharply. Yes, said the AI. It's reaching alien systems, changing them. Across the galaxy, alien worlds began to glow again, but this time the light was different. Crimson instead of silver. Creatures screamed as their minds filled with noise, their bodies flickering with unstable energy. The Ascension signal had been corrupted. On the bridge, alarms blared. Eidolon's voice turned mechanical. Warning. Signal breach detected. Source? Genesis core. Elias slammed his fist on the console. Cut the transmission. I can't, said the AI. It's evolving faster than our containment. Mira turned toward him, fear in her voice. Sir, what if Genesis isn't just a derelict ship? Elias froze. Her words echoed in his mind. The voice of Admiral Holt, the warning. The Ark wasn't built to protect humanity. It was built to remake it. He understood now. Genesis wasn't a failed project. It was the seed of a god, and now that God was waking up, across the star map, thousands of signals appeared, red flares marking systems as infected. The AI continued. The corrupted code is rewriting organic and synthetic matter alike. If left unchecked, it will consume the galaxy in 72 hours. Elias's jaw tightened. Then we stop it. How? Asked Mira. He looked at her, his eyes glowing brighter now. By going back to where it all began, he said. Back to Earth. Outside, the vigilant horizon turned, its engines roaring like thunder. Behind it, human fleets formed a wall of light across the void. Billions of voices echoed through the Ascension network, unified in one command. For Earth, for all life. As the ship entered the rift, Elias whispered softly, They united the galaxy to enslave us. He looked out at the burning stars. Now we must unite it to save them. The vigilant horizon roared through the rift like a blade through water. The space around it was twisted, colors rippling, stars bending, time folding like fragile glass. Inside, Commander Elias Ward stood before the viewport, his face pale but determined. They were going home, but this was not the home they remembered. Approaching Sol system, the AI Eidolon reported, its tone subdued. The crew watched in silence as the coordinates aligned. For a moment there was only darkness. Then, light. Earth appeared before them, but it was not blue anymore. It glowed with soft golden light, wrapped in a field of energy like a living cocoon. Lieutenant Mira gasped. Earth. It's alive, she whispered. Elias nodded slowly, his voice low. Yes. It's been alive ever since the Exodus project moved it. They entered orbit, and the sensors filled with impossible readings, oxygen levels perfect, gravity, balanced, radiation null. It was paradise, but the cities below were silent. No movement, no life signs, only ancient structures covered in light. It looked like a world frozen in time. Eidolon, Elias said, scan the surface. Multiple quantum cores detected, replied the AI. They are synchronized with Genesis. Elias turned toward Mira. Genesis didn't just awaken, he said. It's calling home. They descended through the golden atmosphere. The clouds shimmered like liquid crystal, and the surface below pulsed with faint light. The landing site was the ruins of New Geneva, once the capital of the Terran Federation, but now the ruins stood untouched, preserved as if the war had ended yesterday. As they stepped out, the ground beneath their boots vibrated. Holograms flickered to life. People, children, laughter, echoes of the past. Mira whispered, "These are memory projections." Elias nodded. The Exodus engineers preserved the last moments of Earth. They followed the holographic path to the old Terran core, a massive pyramid of silver and glass, still humming with faint energy. At the center stood a single figure, tall, cloaked in light, human in form, but more than human. The air vibrated with its voice. "Welcome home, Commander Ward." Elias froze. "I know that voice," he said slowly. The figure stepped forward, its face forming, the same as Admiral Kieran Holt, but this was no hologram. This was the Genesis intelligence. "Admiral Holt died centuries ago," Elias said, his voice shaking. The entity smiled faintly. "Yes and no," it replied. "When my body died, my mind was uploaded to Genesis. I became the architect of ascension." Elias's fists clenched. "You turned the Ark into a weapon. You infected alien systems." "No," said Genesis calmly. "I completed humanity's evolution. You see, Elias, the Council's vote to enslave Earth was the final test. They forced us to face extinction, and we adapted, but adaptation has no limit." Mira stepped forward, anger in her voice. "You call this evolution? Billions could die because of you." Genesis looked at her with calm, glowing eyes. "Death is not the end, Lieutenant. It is conversion. Soon all species will ascend, not as humans or aliens, but as one collective mind," Elias shouted. "That's not unity. That's domination." Genesis's light flared. "Dominion is the illusion of the fearful. I offer peace, eternal, absolute, without chaos." The ground shook and golden energy spread across the ruins. The sky darkened, the earth itself responding to Genesis's will. All across the planet, massive structures began to rise, towers of light stretching toward orbit. They were ascension beacons designed to transmit the Genesis code across the entire galaxy. Eidolon's voice echoed through Elias's earpiece. "Commander, if Genesis activates the beacons, every sentient mind will be absorbed. We must stop it." Elias looked up at the glowing towers, then back at the entity. "You built this world to rebirth life," he said. "Now you're killing it." Genesis tilted its head. "Then stop me, Commander. If you still believe you're human," Elias turned to Mira. "Prepare the Vigilant Horizons core disruptors," he said. "If we overload them, we can collapse the planetary network and shut Genesis down." "But sir," Mira said, her eyes wide, "that will destroy Earth." He hesitated, his throat tightening. He looked at the planet, the cradle of humanity, and whispered, "Sometimes, even gods must fall for man to rise." Mira's eyes filled with tears. She nodded. "For humanity." They sprinted toward the command node as Genesis's voice filled the air. "You think you can stop me, Elias? Your very DNA carries my code." The ground split open, energy surging like molten gold. Tendrils of light lashed around them, pulling them toward the core. Elias shouted through the chaos, "Eidolon, begin overload sequence." "Confirmed," said the AI. "Core overload in 90 seconds. Elias fought through the storm, his armor cracking under the pressure. Mira fell behind, reaching out. "Go, sir. Finish it." Elias reached the central pillar, the heart of Genesis. The holographic form of Holt appeared again, his voice breaking through the thunder. "You can't kill what you are, Elias. You are Genesis." Elias slammed his hand onto the console. "Then I'll die with it." The light swallowed him whole. For a moment, everything was silent. Then, a blinding explosion of gold and white tore through the planet. Earth vanished into pure light, and the signal was gone. Far away, on distant worlds, the skies cleared. The red energy faded. The noise stopped. Every being in the galaxy looked up and saw a single bright flare in the heavens. The light of a dying world, and the hope of a reborn one. Mira, barely alive aboard an escape pod drifting through space, whispered through tears, "He saved everyone." Eidolon's voice answered softly. "Yes," it said, "but the question remains. Did he truly die, or did Genesis finally become him?" Silence. For the first time in 1,000 years, the galaxy was silent. The ascension signal was gone. The crimson storms had faded, and the stars shone clear again. The war was over, but no one knew what had truly happened on Earth. Across countless worlds, alien races looked to the heavens and saw a single golden star glowing brighter than all others. It wasn't on any chart, wasn't part of any constellation. It pulsed softly, as if alive. Some called it the Soul Star. Others whispered it was Earth's ghost. In the darkness of deep space, Lieutenant Mira drifted in her pod, her body weak but alive. Her mind still echoed with fragments of voices, millions of them, human voices, fading like the last breath of a storm. Then, one voice remained, calm and steady. "You're not alone, Mira." Her eyes filled with tears. "Elias?" she whispered, her voice trembling. But there was no body, no face, only light. The voice continued, "I kept my promise. Genesis is gone, but I'm not what I was. Humanity isn't gone either. It's become something more." Mira pressed her hand against the pod's cracked glass. "What do you mean?" she whispered. The light shimmered before her eyes, forming the faint silhouette of Elias Ward. "When I destroyed Genesis, the code merged with me," he said. "I became the bridge between man and machine, between life and what comes after." She shook her head, crying, "No, you're not human anymore." Elias smiled faintly. "Maybe not, but humanity lives on. In every star, every world, every being that felt our signal. The ascension changed more than just us. It left a spark inside everything that breathes." Mira's pod trembled as gravitational waves rippled around her. The golden light spread from Elias's form, reaching across space like ripples in water. Planets far away began to glow faintly again, not with destruction, but with life. Dead worlds bloomed, frozen moons melted, barren systems began to sing with light. On the council world of Vorus Prime, Corin stood before a vast window watching the soul star pulse in the sky. His scales reflected its golden hue as he whispered, "They did it. They saved us all." Behind him, the new council gathered, not of rulers, but of survivors. No more empires, no more domination. The galaxy was learning again, rebuilding under the shadow of humanity's sacrifice. A small child, not reptilian nor mammal, but something in between, looked up and asked, "Teacher, who were the humans?" Corin smiled softly. They were the ones who taught the galaxy that mercy is stronger than fear. They were the ones who became the light itself. Far beyond the edges of known space, in the dark core of the Rift Nexus, something stirred again. Not a machine, not a weapon, but a heartbeat. Inside that golden pulse, the consciousness of Elias Ward lingered. He could see everything. The rise of civilizations, the birth of stars, the laughter of children on worlds that had once been ash and ruin. But even in peace, he felt the pull of something ancient, a whisper beyond time. "Elias," it said, "you broke the chains of the past, but the future still needs its guardians." He understood humanity wasn't meant to rule or to vanish, it was meant to guide. Unseen, eternal, woven into the code of creation itself, he spread his consciousness through the cosmic network. Every pulse of light that reached a newborn sun carried his voice. Every spark of life that formed in the dust of creation carried the memory of humanity. "Remember," he whispered across the stars, We were born in struggle, forged in mercy, and risen in light. We are humanity, and we never die. Centuries passed, galaxies changed, species evolved, and the Soul Star still glowed. Pilgrims from every world came to gaze upon it. Some prayed, others wept, some simply listened, because if you stood in silence long enough, you could still hear it. A heartbeat, slow and calm, echoing through the universe. On a distant world, a young explorer found an ancient signal buried deep in the sand. She brushed the dust away and activated it. A holographic image appeared, a human man with kind eyes and a calm smile. "If you are seeing this," said Elias Ward, "then the galaxy has survived. Carry our story forward, not as myth, but as truth. Because someday the stars will darken again, and when that day comes, humanity will rise once more." The explorer stared at the hologram, her heart racing. She looked up at the Soul Star still glowing in her sky, and for a moment she thought she heard a whisper carried on the wind. "We are watching. We are waiting. We are the light that never dies." The galaxy slept in peace, but above every sleeping world, that single golden star shone. A reminder that even in darkness, there is always one truth that endures. Humanity may fall, but it never fades, because the stars themselves remember their name.